October 26, 2022, 9:11 a.m. Chapter 10. The setting is Hamilton County, where we interpret Article 1 Section 19 of the Tennessee State Constitution as it affords Tennesseans a free printing press through the eyes of the Royal Assembly of Greater Men.
Article I Section 19. Hamilton County. Free printing press afforded. In the southeastern edge of eastern Tennessee, bordered by Georgia on to the south and Bradley County on the east, Hamilton County is now the fourth most populous county in the state. The traditional homeland of the Cherokee was gained by the United States in 1817, and on October 25, 1819 the county was created. Between 1819 and 1835 most of the Cherokee had relocated, but those who chose to stay, the heads of their families would have to become an American citizen. The heads of families would receive 640 acres where their heirs would inherit the land after their death for as long as the family stayed on the land. This offer made it easier to relocate the rest of the Cherokee, and in 1835 with the Treaty of New Echota the United States had the legal basis to proceed. John Ross, the son of a Scottish father and Cherokee mother, was the principal chief of his mother's nation opposing the New Echota Treaty. Of the 821 residents in the county in 1820, 100 were Cherokee, 39 were slaves and 16 free blacks, but there was a lot of space to roam and a plethora of people living, eating, and dying in the backwoods of the county. As only tax-paying citizens were counted, those who preferred the autonomy in the wilderness just stayed away from the politics which led to paying taxes.
Arthur John Wright was a scholar, a gentleman, a slave, and greater man of this county, and better known as the artist. He worked for a printer in Chattanooga, where he learned the art of commanding a sheet of paper to the acceptable standards set of the industry. There was nothing printed that he couldn't duplicate with a little time and attention. At the time when the Civil War began, the artist knew there would come a time when he would have to give to the cause in the best manner he knew how. $10 equaled about $25 in Confederate notes by the time they were issued from the capital of the Confederate States of America in Montgomery, Alabama in September of 1862. Varieties of Confederate dollars began to emerge on unissued notes from the Bank of Chattanooga and other banks throughout the South. This led to the devaluing of the new currency, but the artist was determined to capitalize off the new government and the fluid variety of its bills. Before the owner of the print shop got authorization to print bills, the artist had already begun and was soon finished with what can only be seen as a masterpiece. Seeing the signs of the times, the owner was so pleased with his works that he agreed to give him half of whatever was to come from the plates he engraved. Staying out the politics of whites, the Royal Assembly of Greater Men of Hamilton County took the artist's advice and held the prize fights when US dollars were asked to be exchanged into Confederate currency. Monopolizing the market on paper money, US dollars had to be turned into Confederate bills before spectators could place bets.
Named after Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of the Treasury, Hamilton County during the Civil War was also home to a saltpeter mine. Saltpeter was the main ingredient to gunpowder being leached from the earth in caves where Lookout Mountain was a main source. Robert Cravens mined a cave on Lookout Mountain for saltpeter as he owned the property surrounding the mountain, but in 1862 he rented to the Confederate Niter and Mining Bureau the cave so they could mine for themselves. From June 1862 to July 1863, when Chattanooga was taken by federal forces, they were able to profit from that resource. Gunpowder to soldiers was like money to civilians, so when the Union moved into the county, the artist had a considerable amount of the US dollars exchanged from prize fights and other investments like gunpowder. Even though gunpowder was mainly distributed to Confederate troops, there was still a need for ammunition within the domestic sector, which was only sold at the exchange rate of US dollars. The instability of Confederate currency wouldn't allow manufacturers to trade their hard work and dedication for pieces of paper which could be worthless overnight with the collapse of the newly formed government.
The seat of Hamilton County has been Chattanooga since 1835, where the tri-state metropolitan area includes southeastern Tennessee, northeastern Alabama, and northwestern Georgia. The city has the Tennessee River running through it, multiple railroads and now interstate highways as the city became the transit hub of the area. Surrounded by Atlanta, Georgia, Knoxville, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, Huntsville, Alabama, and Birmingham, Alabama, a center of battle, Chattanooga saw its fair share of fighting. Its geographical position made it one of the most strategic cities to control in Tennessee, as its railroads transported raw materials to plants where they could be processed into small arms munitions. Every time there was a battle in Hamilton County, Greater Men would convene to see how the hierarchy of the Royal Assembly of Greater Men of Hamilton County would order themselves.
The artist first won his title of being a greater man and with it half of all the prize money the day before the Chickamauga campaign, which started September 9, 1863. The fights were held from the 7th to the 11th, where the Union bombarded Chattanooga, which was only a diversion to attack and control Chickamauga. Failing at capturing Chickamauga, the Union retreated to Chattanooga. Battles for Chattanooga began on November 23, 1863, when Union troops at Chattanooga were reinforced, after which moving to assist Orchard Knob, where Confederate forces were attacking the city. Greater Men had began again to fight their tournament at their location on Lookout Mountain, but the next day Grant ordered Union troops to attack Confederate forces, which drove them off the mountain. On November 25, 1863, before the Battle of Missionary Ridge, Arthur John Wright won the prize-fighting title, the money, and breeding rights in the Royal Assembly of Greater Men of Hamilton County. A major pathway to the Deep South, the Atlanta campaign would begin the next spring, but the Royal Assembly remained to maintain order and tranquility. That is all for this chapter's reading. We will see you back here next week for chapter 11 in a pop quiz, so reread your notes.